Then the Lord said to Noah, "Go in, and you and your sons and your wife and your sons' wives with you." Genesis 7 verse 1. What does it mean to be chosen by God? To walk a path that seems impossible, trusting in His promises above all else. Abraham is a name whispered throughout history. He's the father of many nations, a man who left his homeland and followed a calling that stretched beyond anything he could have imagined. The land he was promised, a place to call his own, seemed far off, a distant dream amidst the uncertainties of life on the move. His story is one of unwavering faith and resilience, tested time and again by trials that would shake even the strongest believer. Born into a family steeped in idolatry, Abraham's early life was one marked by a growing unease with the traditions of his time. The stories surrounding him paint a picture of a man deeply introspective, seeking a truth that resonated beyond the rituals and ceremonies he witnessed. His journey began with a singular call from God. Heeding this divine summons, Abraham left his homeland and embarked on an extraordinary odyssey, guided by unwavering faith and a promise of a land flowing with milk and honey. This pivotal moment marked the beginning of a profound relationship between man and God, one that would shape the course of history. Abraham's obedience to God's call tested him in ways he could never have imagined. It demanded a complete surrender of his comfort and familiarity, urging him to venture into the unknown with nothing but faith as his compass. Genesis 12 verses 1 to 3 describes his departure from Ur, leaving behind all that he knew to journey toward a land that would later become known as Canaan. His willingness to embrace this radical change demonstrated an extraordinary level of trust and commitment. The call from God was not merely a request, it was a profound command, a summons to be a chosen instrument for something greater than himself. Abraham's life story serves as a timeless example of faith and action, showcasing the unwavering conviction required to answer a divine calling. It set the stage for his future legacy, a lineage marked by faithfulness and an enduring covenant between God and humanity. At the heart of Abraham's journey lay a profound covenant with God, a sacred agreement that would shape his destiny and the fate of generations to come. This pact was more than just a promise. It was a declaration of divine purpose, a commitment to an extraordinary future for Abraham and his descendants. God promised Abraham a land flowing with milk and honey, a fertile paradise where his people would flourish. This promise, outlined in Genesis 12 verses 7, wasn't simply about material wealth but represented a place of spiritual abundance, a sanctuary where God's presence would dwell among His chosen people. It was a vision that fueled Abraham's unwavering faith, even when faced with hardships and uncertainties. Central to this covenant was the promise of multiplicity, an assurance that Abraham's descendants would be as numerous as the stars in the sky. This pledge, found in Genesis 22 verse 17, extended beyond mere population. It signified a future where God's chosen people would become a mighty nation, spreading His influence and light throughout the world. It was a promise that echoed through generations, laying the foundation for a belief system centered on faith, obedience, and the enduring power of God's Word. Sarah and Abraham's journey was marked by unwavering faith, yet their path wasn't without its trials. The longing for a child, promised by God, became a source of both hope and heartache. Years passed with no sign of an heir, leading Sarah to suggest a solution. Hagar, her maidservant, should bear Abraham's child. This decision, while seemingly practical, introduced a new layer of complexity into their lives. Hagar, conceiving, found herself in a position of both anticipation and uncertainty. Her pregnancy brought about a shift in the dynamics within the household, leading to friction and jealousy. The Bible tells us that Sarah dealt harshly with her. Genesis 21 verse 9. Hagar's own feelings likely fluctuated between pride and fear as she navigated this uncharted territory. Fleeing into the wilderness, Hagar encountered an angel who reassured her and revealed God's plan for both her son and her future. Genesis 21 verses 17 to 20. This divine intervention served as a powerful reminder that even in moments of hardship, God remained attentive and compassionate. Hagar returned with newfound strength and purpose, ultimately embracing her role as the mother of Ishmael, who would become the ancestor of a new lineage. The story of Sarah and Hagar stands as a testament to the complexities of faith, family, and the challenges that arise when human desires intersect with divine purpose. Ishmael and Isaac, both sons of Abraham, were born into vastly different circumstances. While Isaac was the product of a long-awaited covenant with God, Ishmael's birth arose from a more pragmatic decision made by Sarah in her longing for an heir. Their lives took divergent paths. Isaac remained within the family unit, destined to inherit the promises God had made to Abraham. He became the patriarch of a lineage that would ultimately lead to the Messiah. Ishmael, however, was cast out into the wilderness, fighting his own way and forging a new destiny for himself and his descendants. The Bible mentions Ishmael's life as one of survival, resourcefulness, and resilience. He journeyed with his mother through the desert, learning to navigate its harsh realities and depend on his own ingenuity. Genesis 21 verses 14 to 20. Their contrasting fates highlight the complexities of family relationships and the profound impact that faith, choice, and circumstance can have on human lives. Though they were brothers, their journeys ultimately unfolded in unique and distinct ways, shaping the destinies of both individuals and the generations that followed them. Abraham's faith was put to an extraordinary test when God commanded him to offer up his son Isaac as a sacrifice. This unimaginable request shook Abraham to his core, forcing him to confront the depths of his love and obedience. He set out on a journey with Isaac, carrying the wood for the altar and bearing the burden of this inconceivable task. The silence of the wilderness amplified the weight of his predicament, leaving room only for unspoken thoughts and the heavy thud of each step. Upon reaching the designated place, Abraham built the altar, prepared to fulfill God's will, even though it meant sacrificing everything he held dear. Isaac, unaware of his impending fate, willingly carried the wood. He trusted his father implicitly, believing in his every word and action. This act of profound faith tested not only Abraham but also Isaac, demonstrating their unwavering trust and devotion to God's will. At the very last moment, an angel intervened, halting the sacrifice. A ram caught in a thicket was offered instead, sparing Isaac's life and marking this event as a testament to Abraham's unwavering faith and God's mercy. The story of Abraham's willingness to sacrifice his son became a powerful symbol of faith and obedience, demonstrating that even the most difficult trials can ultimately lead to profound blessings. Word spread of the wickedness and sin that plagued the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. Their inhabitants had turned away from righteousness, consumed by their own desires and cruelty. Abraham, a man deeply devoted to God, heard these disturbing reports and felt compelled to act. He knew the consequences of such widespread wickedness and pleaded with God on behalf of the cities. "Will you indeed destroy the righteous with the wicked?" he questioned. Genesis 18 verse 23. "Suppose there are 50 righteous people in the city. Will you then destroy the whole city because of those 50? Suppose you find 45 or 40 or 30 or 20 or even 10. Will you not spare the place for the sake of those 10? Genesis 18 verses 24 to 32. Abraham's unwavering faith and compassion led him to intercede on behalf of his people, demonstrating that even in the face of overwhelming evil, hope and mercy can prevail. God acknowledged Abraham's plea and agreed to spare Sodom if a minimum number of righteous individuals were found within its walls. However, when angels descended to investigate, they discovered only wickedness and depravity. The cities remained consumed by sin, leaving no room for redemption. Ultimately, God's judgment was carried out, serving as a solemn reminder of the consequences of turning away from righteousness. Abraham lived a long and fruitful life, growing old and respected within his community. He saw his descendants multiply and was filled with joy knowing that God's covenant with him would continue through future generations. Yet, despite his advanced age, Abraham remained steadfast in his faith, trusting in God's promises even when circumstances seemed uncertain. He continued to follow God's instructions, remaining a model of obedience and devotion. His final days were marked by a profound sense of peace and contentment. He knew that his legacy would live on through his son Isaac, carrying forward the torch of faith passed down from him. With each passing year, Abraham grew closer to his Maker, his heart filled with gratitude for God's unwavering love and guidance. Before he departed this life, Abraham entrusted his son Isaac with the family's inheritance, urging him to remain faithful to the divine covenant they had both been entrusted with. He passed on his wisdom and experience, shaping Isaac's character and guiding him towards a future marked by righteousness.